is really government backed, and then even the government provides like space for co-working spaces for the startups that they incubate through this accelerator. Of course, they rope in now. Recently they rope in a lot of private sectors, and they also provide a lot of grants for businesses that qualify. Yeah, people, if you manage to hire X number of people, you manage to make profit, you manage to pay taxes to the government revenue, then you are entitled to get some grant money for your advertising, for your go-to-market promotion money. You get even tax incentives for hiring people. You get all these kind of benefits, and that makes it very sexy for more and more people to want to come and start a business, want to build something. You got to encourage people. You need to incentivize in the appropriate way, and how the Malaysian government is doing it is through incentivizing. Like for my company, we pay a lot of taxes. Really, we pay very good taxes to the government. It means we're very profitable. In return, because we pay all these taxes, they allow us to claim grants and so these are the things that really incentivize entrepreneurs to push. Or if you're solving a big problem in the country, you are able as social enterprise or anything you're doing good for the country, you can get to claim like different types of grants for different purposes, and that helps the country. Like if you're like example of social entrepreneurship, if you're helping to reduce poverty, there's a grant for it to help you accelerate your objective. So they have like different pillars. They even have a grant for creative enterprise. If you're in arts or acting or or creative literature, there's also a grant for every vertical that they want to push. Technology as well, there's a grant for it also to qualifying companies. So I think these kind of things can help because when an entrepreneur starts, they have no money. The bank will not borrow you money until you have 3 or 4 years track record. And how many startups make money after 3 or 4 years? Most of them close down. So that's where the government is needed to help fill this void, the gap between starting up and being profitable, that gap before the banks come in. So the government needs to help before the company becomes really profitable and start taking money from the bank. So that's how I see. That's how I think the government should step in and fill this gap.
Sure. Yeah, I also agree with the expressed by hello. And I think it may be some drawbacks, some weakness from part of the organizers, or it may be the government. Because just recently there was a meeting by Asia Pacific, which is not productive. It's very controversial. And the Prime Minister had attended, to the whole meeting. So the government should also take an proactive part, and also the organizers should convince them that it is such an important event. And in this case, if they can prepare a report and submit to the concerned department, I advise for that.
I have a question for Bobby, if that's okay. So you mentioned an inflection point in Vietnam. I mean, borrowing from what Rahul just said and what Christine added to, do you think that inflection point is where the government steps in? Or would you like to share what happened in Vietnam in detail so that we know?
Okay, I'll try not to make it lengthy. So, back in 2011, I basically took a leap of faith, gave up everything that I knew about doing business, because I was heavily involved in a lot of brick and mortar businesses. Obviously golf, we had, you name it. I had hands in that, and I pretty much gave everything up, and really relook at this whole new tech economy that is developing. And this was followed simply because of what Singapore had done, right? Of course, Singapore is a completely different sphere altogether, right? And they obviously have their objective in what they want to achieve. But nonetheless, I knew that this movement was coming. Vietnam was very young at that time, right? So the first thought that actually got me interested is not so much as technology itself. It's really about working with the millennia, and for a very simple reason. My daughter at that time was only about maybe 2.5 years old, And I was curious to understand what kind of world, would she be living in 20 years? And for me to understand that, then I've got to understand the kind of world that the young people are setting up, which are the millennials, people who are in the early 20s. So at that point, I call it the inflection point because I noticed that more and more Vietnamese are studying overseas, and the uniqueness is they're actually coming back. Not only the Vietnamese that have gone overseas to study based on scholarship or maybe through family or whatever, but I'm also seeing the second generation of Vietnamese refugees that left due to very unfortunate circumstances, and they're all coming back. So they're coming back with a lot of know-how. And when they come back with all the know-how, it's also combined with a close kinship with their relatives in Vietnam. Who by which time, due to the opening of the economy, you then have the know-how, including the know-who. So in Southeast Asia, it's very important to know who, right? So there's anyway, yeah. So you basically have that two factor coming together, right? And then of course, you have the Vietnamese are traveling a lot more. So that again bringing back a lot of things, and then you have Vietnam joining WTO, ASEAN, you name it, any kind of trade globalization program, they're in it, including they're leading the new TPP as well, but that's recent. So that to me was the inflection point, and that reminded me of Singapore being in the mid 80s, right? So mid 80s, I just finished school, and full of hope, full of optimism. Singapore had the so-called the greatest subway system. We had the greatest communication, openness, everything else. So there was that similarity, and I look at it and I say, all right, despite all the ills or whatever you heard about Vietnam, if it's the same as it is without any change, the young is going to drive the growth of the country at least for the next 10, 15 years. So basically, I kind of started that. And started a co-working space without knowing what co-working space was all about. Started an incubator without knowing what it was all about. Really, it was learning from someone who was actually learning, right? So everything was new. It was sort of feeling out, where, how big, was the elephant, right? And through a lot of mistakes and everything else, we grew. Back to what Christy mentioned earlier. So I came up with this concept of, okay, how then to make use of everything that Vietnam has and creating Vietnam as a innovation center, right? So by chance, I was looking at the map, where Vietnam is, to Southeast Asia. For some reason, I was walking around the table and I saw the map upside down. And I realized that actually Vietnam, especially Hanoi, sits right in the middle. If you flip the map across, around, sits right in the middle of Southeast Asia and North Asia, China, Japan, and Korea, right? And I got this idea of this concept called Tech Fest, right? And okay, don't quote me on this. It's basically an orgy for tech, right?
What is it?
Oh, never mind. It's an umbrella.
Sorry, you are on record.
It's an umbrella for tech, right? Because you see a lot of single sector, events like the gaming, the Mobile Monday, you have tech, startup grind, you have startup weekend, but they're all very, very singular, and very, under-attended. What if we put everything together under one umbrella and then we create events out of that? So it was a concept, right? And I could have done it privately, and I tell you, salute to Kavi, all right? He's got the balls to get this off going, right? So all credit to him. But in Vietnam, funny enough, everybody wanted to become the hero, right? They said, I like your concept, but everybody wanted to become the hero.
I wanted to know, Vietnam was, badly hit by the war, with the US and then with China. So now, how did it change the environment? Is it now business friendly?
1995, US normalized trade relationship with Vietnam, and it boomed, right? Of course, it went through like 4 cycles, right? So finally, somebody introduced me, moving forward to now, introduced me to the Ministry of Science and Technology. They also had an idea to doing, an event, a platform, but they couldn't anchor onto what. So we sat down, we talked, and there was like the holiday season period, whatever. So finally, they said yes. We put together the first tech fest in 6 weeks at a school, at a university campus. And basically that took off. So the vice minister opened the thing and all that, as what you said. And this year we had the 4th. And the prime minister actually opened it. And we did it in another city. And next year we're going to do it in our city. So yes, and despite what everyone says, I believe, and especially for Vietnam, for Nepal, I think, a collaboration, of public and private sector is actually very critical.